And, I mentioned Sean Koerner, Nick, Giffen. It's not quite, Beetlejuice saying your names 3 times and you appear, but I do say your names, and here you both are. Player prop time. You guys are going to give us your round of 64 player favorite props. Then we'll get your final 4 in championship at the very end. Sean, I'll kick it to you first. Where are you headed in this round of 64 games?
Yeah, so for my first prop, I'm going to this Mississippi State-Michigan State game, and I'm going with Tyson Walker of Michigan State to go under 3.5 assists. You can get it at even money, which makes it even better. But Walker stayed under this number 59% of the time in conference play, and that was with Michigan State averaging 70 points a game. Their team total for this matchup is just 65.5, which is going to ding his assist projection a tad. Mississippi State, they play at a slower pace, and they allow an assist on 2% fewer field goals made than your league average team. And their defense, that ranks top 20 in Ken Palm's efficiency metric, and they allow their opponents to shoot just 29% from beyond the arc, which is the 4th lowest rate in the country, which is going to make it, that much more difficult for Walker to rack up assists. So we're projecting him closer to 3 assists here with about a 63% chance he stays under 3.5 assists.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned, the low 3-point volume. Also, 10% of those threes come off the dribble, which takes away that assist protection. They also like to funnel people into the mid-range. That's a plus for Tyson Walker, who doesn't really have a knack for attacking the rim or trying to dish it out. He loves the mid-range jumper. I want to ask you, though, Sean, this is the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you want to back some of the superstar scorers in the points department. Tyson Walker is the guy who can completely take over a game. I'm curious your thoughts when you're breaking down this. Does that factor into it at all, that maybe, Mississippi State, they want you to attack in isolation. They want you to have a primary scorer like Walker where maybe he's not going to look to pass as much?
Yeah, I think that's probably just a bonus point on why I like the under even more. We're not necessarily factoring that in, but the fact that we already show value on the under here and just mentally thinking that, yeah, he'll probably take more shots, which will, take away from his potential assist rate. That's just, again, another factor that I think goes in the favor of him staying under 3.5 assists.
Right. He takes over 30% of the shots as is. Seems like, in a tight game, he's not giving that ball up at all. But, Nick, I'll go to you next. It's South Carolina, Oregon you're keying on here. It's an interesting matchup. Oregon, the Pac-12 champs. South Carolina surprised everybody, picked at the bottom of the SEC. Now they're in the tournament. What's your favorite prop in this matchup?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a coin flip game. But as far as player props, I'm going to go over to South Carolina's Colin Murray-Boyles to have over 1.5 assists at -135. And I mean, look, the Oregon Ducks, they can't stop shooters. They're 246th in effective field goal percent defense. So what that means is South Carolina is going to be making shots. So if they're making shots, there's always the potential for those to be assisted. And the other things that could potentially hurt assists would be something like an assist rate. Well, Oregon allows right around the league average assist rate, and they've been actually allowing a higher assist rate recently. Also, Oregon's pace is about neutral. Their turnovers forced is about neutral in terms of rate, and their foul rate is about neutral. So it's not like they're hurting South Carolina by creating more turnovers or putting South Carolina on the free throw line where you can't get an assist, that kind of stuff. So this projection for Colin Murray-Boyles is pretty fair, and a lot of it comes from the fact that Oregon just does not stop shooters. And also, one thing I want to point out, Colin Murray-Boyles, in the last 16 games where South Carolina has had their current starting rotation and their current active rotation, he has gone over this number in 10 of those 16 games. Plus his minutes have been increasing. And then against top 100 competition, Colin Murray-Boyles becomes less of a shooter and more of an assister. His shooting rate goes down against top 100 competition. His assist rate goes up against top 100 competition. So I'm not even factoring in that assist rate increase or that shot rate decrease against top 100 competition. I'm still getting, Sean and I are getting around 2.3 assists with a 67% chance of going over 1.5. So that would be like -200 at fair odds. So totally fine with -135. And like I said, there's a couple bonus points where against top 100 competition, and Oregon allowing a higher assist rate recently that aren't even factored into this projection.
Yeah, and Murray Boyles obviously battled mono early on in the season. That cut into his workload as he got into a groove. We've kind of seen him of late absolutely dominate all over the floor, become a huge big man in South Carolina's success. And also Oregon, I mean, I was watching the Pac-12 championship, had Colorado future, was really hoping for it. But the one thing that Dana Altman does so well is he throws zone looks at the other teams, and that leads to more assist chances, which is why I also love this prop that you put out. I saw it and my eyes kind of glue up. I was like, oh, wow, like all the zone that comes out, plus Arizona and Colorado, almost 80% of all their field goals were assisted on. So that's just another bonus that, obviously you don't have fully factored into that. So, but Sean, I'll kick it back to you. I'm playing assist man here. I'm going to throw you the pass here now. Your turn for your second prop of the first week.
Yeah, so for my second prop, I'm going to this Texas-Colorado State matchup, and I'm going with Patrick Cartier of Colorado State to go under 3.5 rebounds at -110. And, Cartier is has a pretty low rebound rate for a power forward / center, and typically tops out around 24 minutes. So I just don't think he has much upside in this market. Colorado State has faced a top 50 team like Texas 13 times this year, and Cartier has stayed under this in 9 of those games. So that's a nice 69% rate right there. And Texas is a really good shooting team. They rely on 2-point attempts more than your average team. So that's likely going to result in fewer rebound attempts potentially for Cartier here. So again, this isn't a number he typically clears, and this is a tough spot for him. So we're projecting him closer to 3 boards here with about a 63% chance he stays under 3.5 rebounds.
Yeah, Colorado State doesn't attack the offensive glass or outside the top 300 in second chance opportunities. And it also feels like watching that Virginia game yesterday, both Clifford, both Scott were the guys that were kind of attacking the glass, and Cartier's kind of okay with sitting around the perimeter, okay with kind of just playing in that mid-range, not really grabbing those rebounds. So I love this look as well as Colorado State gears up for their second game in 3 days. All right, Nick, round us out, take us home, your last prop of the round of 64.
Yeah, well, Charlie's already racked up over half an assist, but then he had to throw that Virginia jab in there, which stings for me. But that's all right. We'll move on. So I'm going to go to the Kansas versus Samford game, and I'm going to take DeJuan Harris to have over half a 3-point made at +120. And I'm surprised this line didn't move too much after the news was announced that there will be no Kevin McCullough playing in this tournament for Kansas. DeJuan Harris's shot percentage jumps from around 14.5% of possessions played, where he takes a shot on, to over 20% of the possessions he plays where he takes a shot in games where McCullough is out. And I'm not even including that in the projection because, it's only a 5 or a 6 game sample size, 5 games with Hunter Dickinson. And then there's a game where Hunter Dickinson also didn't play. I'm assuming Hunter Dickinson's going to play. So I'd rather use that 5 game sample size. So not baking in a lot of, shot percentage increase here for Harrison, already showing value on the over. And Samford is a pretty comfortable matchup. They allow over 40% of field goal attempts to come from outside the arc compared to around a little over 37% national average. They also don't have a great 3-point shooting defense, allowing around 34% versus 33.8% national average. And they also play at the 14th fastest adjusted pace in the nation. So certainly some more possessions to go around here, which means just a few extra opportunities for Harris to potentially take a 3-point attempt. So I'm actually projecting Harris around 1 3-point made with a 58% chance to have at least one. And that's before making any, like I said, any adjustments to his shot percentage, which does tend to go up without Kevin McCullough here. And I haven't been able to find any ladder 3-point made for him, but I would like 2+, something like that at certain price points based off what I'm seeing on over half. So if any of those pop up, keep an eye out on those as well.
Yeah, I saw this at plus money, and I was like, oh, all right, this looks pretty good. McCullough takes the most amount of threes for Kansas. Now he's out. Johnny Furphy the next up, but after him, it doesn't feel like there's many options for Kansas. Harris will have the ball in his hands for the majority of the game, and it almost feels like sometimes teams dare him to shoot the 3, and he's more than capable of hitting that long-range jumper. And Nick, listen, I don't want to throw another shot at you. I might have to put my hands up, but hopefully he's able to make some threes, unlike that Virginia offense from yesterday.
Oh yeah, that was abysmal. I mean, nearly an hour of real time without a point scored. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I know. Stuckey mentioned off the show that he was like, I got an hour nap in, and I was like, yeah, you probably woke up and they only scored 2 or 3 points in that span. But all right, guys, before we get out of here, we got your props, but we want to hear your Final Fours and, of course, your champion. I know you guys have, your articles out on the Action Network, but tell the fans at home. Sean, I'll start with you. Your Final Four, and then who's cutting down the nets at the end.
Yeah, so my Final Four is Auburn, Arizona, Houston, Tennessee, and I have Houston beating Arizona in the finals.
All right, and Nick?
Yeah, well, I promised Sean and I didn't share our Final Fours. Last year, we ended up on the exact same Final Four. This year, 3 of the 4 are the same. I have number 1 Houston, number 1 Purdue instead of he has Tennessee, number 2 Arizona, and number 4 Auburn. But I have Arizona cutting down the nets over Purdue.
Wow. All right. These are not, as you guys are the predictive analytics team and me just trying to pick my bracket together, only having 2 of the 4 Final Fours doesn't make me feel, the greatest. But I do have Houston and I do have Auburn. So at least, the UConn fade, we can all hold hands into the sunset together with that one. But Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you hopping on and enjoy the madness.